Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this week's episode of Maximum Octane. Hope everybody had a fantastic week. Joining me today, my special guest is Mr. Matt Barnes, who's the owner and operator of B&B Automotive Services in Bryan, Texas. Where is Bryan, Texas?
That's a good question. It's a semi-small town. We're known. Bryan College Station is known for Texas A&M University, but we're right in between Houston and Dallas and Austin. And it kind of makes a triangle around us. So Central Texas is what we're considered.
So you're in a Texas triangle, not a Bermuda triangle?
Yeah, we're not in Bermuda. We're right in the middle of the Texas triangle. Exactly.
So how far? I had Mike McAllowitz on not too long ago, and he's the author of Profit First and A Pumpkin Plan, a bunch of other things. But he told a story about a barbecue place in Hunt, Texas. That is just amazing. How far are you from Hunt, Texas?
We're a pretty good ways away from Hunt, if I remember right. I'm going to say, yeah, that's the other crazy thing is you got to understand in Texas, everything's a long way. Next door can be an hour away. So is what's considered next way. But I want to say it's about 3 hours away, if I'm not mistaken.
For those of you, if anyone has ever driven cross country, which I have way too many times for way too many reasons, but it's like the whole United States you can cover in a day. I usually, when I go cross country, I like to just get there and go and not, spend a lot of time on, unless it's a vacation. And it's like, I've got it down to, I think, like 2.5 days almost, but 2 days is Texas. Like the rest of the country, I feel like I drive through all the other states in a half a day, and Texas is 2 days. And so
it's a monster.
It is just, it's incredible, but everything's bigger there, right? That's the motto.
Exactly. That's right.
One of these days, I'd like to have you back on, because we always talk about culture, engagement, pride, all of that stuff. Texans are they are the most proud of the state they live in, and everything to do with the state of anybody I wish we could bottle the culture and the engagement of the Texan people for sure. So, all right. Without further ado, let's just get down to the meat of things, shall we? Sure. Okay. So you want to tell us a little bit about your operation and your locations and all of that before we get started?
Sure. We're a two location shop. We're going to primarily be talking about B&B Automotive right now, but I have a second shop, Superior Automotive, that's a little closer to the A&M campus. We're 6 bays with 1 bay with an alignment rack. I have 4 full-time technicians. As of now, I have 3 service writers and a general manager who is working hard to become he already is part of my COO. My brother is a business partner. He runs the second shop been here since June of 1986. So basically, I've grown up here and been here most of my life.
Wonderful. And that's another entire episode that I would love to have you on, about working with siblings and family, and how do you divide who's in charge of what and all of that too. Let's just start with the fun stuff about unproductive habits. Usually I get to that kind of towards the end, but I just want to start out with that one today, because that's what I'm in the mood for. What's an unproductive habit you had that you have swapped out?
Getting upset and angry about things doesn't really help anything. A lot of people that know me now are shocked that I had a wildly crazy temper, and did for a long time. Funny story behind that. I'm a square dance caller. Yeah, I know everybody laughs. And so, what? Square dance caller? Yes. So I call square dancing. I got into that because a friend of mine that was calling asked me if he could teach me. He knew I like to sing. So I took classes from him. And one day I went up to help him haul his sound equipment in. And,
wait. Let me just clarify.
Yes.
So he's giving you lessons to sing or to be a square dance caller?
To be a square dance caller. Yes.
Okay. So because you like to sing, somebody thought a natural transition would be square dance caller.
Yes. And I did. I had my wife and I square dance as
Okay.
well. So we had already been doing that. There we go. Now we're getting the whole um, Southern/Texas thing in there again. But anyway, I walked out and he was complaining because he had just cut his hand working on a barn. He had a reaction to the medication that they'd given him, and so he had a terrible headache. And here he was about to have to go in and perform for, I think we had about 6 squares of people there. There's 8 to a square. So it was a pretty decent crowd. And I was telling him, well, I'm sorry about that. We go and I set up all his equipment so he didn't have to. And he and I are kind of mumbling under our breath, talking so nobody hears. And then lo and behold, it's time for the dance. He flips the switch and he turns around, and all of a sudden it's like a brand new person. He's just like, you had never known that anything was going on. After the dance, I'm quizzing him about this. I said, man, what did your headache go away? What's the deal? And he said, no. He said something that stuck with me. He said, doesn't matter what kind of day you're having, what's happening in your personal life, none of that matters. He said, when it's showtime, it's showtime, and people are paying for a show. And so it really made me think about my temper at that point. It does no good to lose my temper and get upset about things. It's showtime. So no matter what happens in personal life or at the shop, hey, just put on your show face, be positive, and move on. So that's what it was. It was a game changing moment for me.
I love it. I'm grinning like an idiot. I know some of you can't see me right now, but it sounds so simple, right? Flip the switch. It's time to turn it on. But
yep,
gosh, that takes a little bit of practice. I for sure, to just say, listen, I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to do that thing. And this is who I am in the moment and what I need to be. I love it. And what a wonderful lesson for something that you wouldn't expect it. And that's the beauty of life. There's lessons everywhere if we listen and pay attention.
You bet.
So
never
who would have
stop
thought
learning.
that? I would never have guessed that you would have had an anger issue.
Yeah, most people do not.
You're always kind with your words and giving everyone compliments and positive, and also kudos to you, because that's a tough one, anger to kind of shake off a little bit for sure. One of the secrets, I think, to your success, from at least what I've seen and heard about you and have gotten to witness, is that you're not afraid to fail. Can you expand on that a little bit for our audience?
Sure. I'm a firm believer in, if you finding out, if you're not sure about something, find somebody smarter than you to figure it out. So I rob a lot of my things from other people that are successful in different areas in different ways. And one thing that stuck out with me was Bryan told me one time that he said, "Don't be afraid to fail. Failure is just one more step toward figuring out how to do it." And so it really made me kind of change the way I think. And I kind of try to preach that to my people and just tell them, look, if you don't know, if I'm not around, and you don't have to come to me, just make a decision. If we don't like it, or if it didn't work, okay, we'll do something different next time. We'll meet about it. We'll talk about it. We'll find out what the best solution would be next time, and then we'll move on from there. That way we all learn together. But yeah, failure doesn't mean it's not necessarily. It's got a negative connotation, I think, in our day and age. But really, it's not. I mean, that's all the best innovations in the world have come through people who failed the first time, second time, and sometimes thousands of times until they got it right.
You make it sound just so simple. And so for those of us out there,
I wish it was.
For those of us out there, or for some of, I'll talk like a Texan now, some of all y'all with a big ego.
Yes.
Failing is sometimes a tough pill to swallow. How do you give yourself permission to just fail when you have a competitive personality and you don't like to fail?
Yeah, and I am competitive. That's the bad part. Sometimes I have to. I honestly, a lot of times, how I deal with that is more along the lines of trying to think about keeping my eyes on the big picture on the end. It's a setback. It's a marathon, not a sprint. So, let's not work it. And I got to keep telling myself that. And at times, because my my nature is to jump in and fix it instead of letting them fix it themselves or come up with a solution. But I got to look at the big picture. I can't get if in the end I want the shop to run autonomously without me here, and still be able to do well and everybody to function in a way and where everybody's happy and free to do things. I can't keep fixing it, or I'm going to be fixing it 7 years from now the same way.
So do you have a mantra? Do you bite your nails? What do you do when you're watching somebody do something that is going to end in a mistake, and it's an important lesson they have to learn? How do you keep your mouth shut?
That's not an easy one. I normally try to let them fail, but maybe not fail quite so far. Although I will say sometimes it's just the best lessons are learned through pain, unfortunately. I will normally go up to my office and just kind of sit there until it's over so I can come in on the back end, because watching is so painful.
It hurts to watch.
It does.
You got to just remove yourself sometimes, I think, and just be like, okay, I can't look.
Absolutely.
Right. Another one of your pearly words of wisdom is that you are an example. So make sure it's a good one.
You bet. Whether whether you know it or not, people are watching you. And this never came more apparent to me until my kids came along. I have 3 daughters, 3 wonderful daughters. They're all 3 off and married now. And when it surprised me how early on, how I would catch them doing things that I did, even though you would think they would watch their mom more, and they probably did that too, but it's just my habits, both good and bad. I saw them picking up, and it's the same as in any kind of leadership, or even if you're not in leadership, people are watching you, whether you like it or know it or not. And so try to be the example that you would want others to be for your kids, for your family. And I just think it's just an honorable way to live, for one. But I think people tend to gravitate more toward positive examples than they do the opposite.
Kids are funny, aren't they? When you look at them, and boy, sometimes they're the best and the worst of us. And there's anything more annoying than seeing one of your annoying traits in your child.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes.
I have, as you probably know, my facial expressions are very animated, and so when there is something, my friends and family describe my stink eye, and they say, "Boy, when you give that stink eye, it just stops your blood cold." And I used to be like, I don't know what the heck you people are talking about, and nobody can make a face like that. That's and they're like, "Oh no, this is like your blood stops running. It turns cold." And one day my younger son gave me that stink eye. I think he was 4. And I tell you what, it stopped me in my tracks. And one of my best friends was with me, and I said, "Oh, is that the stink eye thing?" She's like, "Yeah, that's it." And I was like, "Oh my God, that's horrible."
Yeah.
Horrible. But boy, when you see that as a reflection from your kid, it's like, oof.
Yep. It's tough. It's tough. It's fun, but tough.
Yeah, sometimes there's both. So I wanted to circle back for a minute about failure, and it's okay to fail and all of that, and not to worry. You mentioned about not worrying when your team fails and to just go upstairs or whatever. You also have shared with me about panicking, not to panic, because then it's not going to become a teachable moment. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, if you they're again going to go back to the anger thing. If you're flying off the handle, all that does is make everybody else anxious around you. Sometimes it's just best to be the still calming voice in the middle of a storm, because that's what people are you're different at that point. And so they're going to tend to gravitate toward that. And that kind of de-escalates the situation. That actually came a lot more from actually being on the counter. But after my anger issues kind of got calmed down a little bit, it was, when people were upset, I just kind of just, no matter what happened, just kind of kept my cool and and if anything, sometimes I would actually talk softer as they got louder. And what I really found interesting and fascinating was that sometimes as I talked softer, their volume came back down to, not to match mine. They were still above mine, as I talked softer, and they also would kind of move closer because they don't want to miss what I'm saying. And so that tells me they're paying more attention. And so, so many times when people are upset, they can't follow what you're saying in a crisis situation. They're too focused on what's going on around them. They don't hear the solution, even if you're trying to explain to them. The customer you're trying to talk to doesn't understand what you're saying. They're just focusing on that. So what I did is basically I grabbed that focus and brought it back to me. So and you can do that in any crisis situation around the shop, at life, and that calming down and just keeping that is just, it's phenomenal how well that works. Don't know exactly why. I'm sure there's some kind of psychology behind it, but it tends to work.
Yeah, there's, matching the intensity. People want to match the intensity of who they're speaking with often. And we see that a lot of people when you watch sales technique videos and different things about nodding your head up and down and different things when you're wanting somebody to say yes. It's just they do it. Do you ever, when it gets heated, just break out in a square dancing calling to break the ice? Or
no, it's funny though that when I do leave for a dance, a lot of the guys, because I'll have to leave early to get there, that they'll make funny jokes and comments from time to time. So some of them not appropriate for podcasts, but some.
I feel like that would be a great diffuser when a customer, an internal or external customer, is angry or elevating the voice, to just break out in a square dance calling. Because what could they say then? So
that's right.
So
icebreaker.
March, an icebreaker, that would be a great one. So in March, you had your highest gross sales and net profit ever, and the important thing about that is 3 of your top leaders were out for a week.
Correct.
So were you expecting, tell the truth, were you expecting to go back and have lower sales or lower whatever because your top 3 people were out?
We had set a modest goal for March because we knew we were all going to be gone. And I was a little disappointed when we didn't make it. I'll be honest. We did, because it was a lesser goal than what we had set in previous months. And then I was talking with Andy Adams, who's another ATI shop owner. We're in a 20 group together. He's one of the smartest men I know. We share our numbers back and forth. We all the time. We have some Google Docs that we share each other's numbers back and forth, so we kind of monitor each other's shops. And he looked back and he said, you do realize that while you didn't hit your goal, it was still your best month you've ever had and your highest net profit you ever had. And 3 of y'all weren't even there for over a week. And I said, it's all about perspective. And I thought, wow, I didn't think I was so focused. There goes back again. I was so focused on the problem. I needed somebody else to, and if Andy never gets, his voice stays right here. He was that calming voice, and I back up and I stood, I said, dang, he's right. So I dove into the numbers more, and he was absolutely correct. So the team did phenomenal. Talking about working on your own, and we had my general manager gone, my brother who runs the other store gone, and myself. But yet they posted the best month ever with 3 key people out of the loop for, I think it was 5 working days. So that's pretty phenomenal, I thought.
That is phenomenal. So what? That had to really stand out to you. That holy cow! Look what they did without us here.
And the crazy part is, it was a 27% increase in net profit for that month too. So that would made it over our next closest. So it was
So for
phenomenal
those
month
of
all the
you
way
that
around.
don't like math, they made 27 cents on a dollar more than their previous month. So that's
Yes.
pretty dang good. But that's
That's not
because you're in
bad.
Texas, right? Because
That's
everything's
right.
bigger
Everything's
there.
bigger.
Everything's bigger, even the net
Even
profit.
our pennies are about this big around, by the way, just in case you're wondering.
You have giant pennies.
Yes.
So obviously, for the three key people to be out for a week and be able to do that, you must have some pretty good processes in place and a model that can be followed regardless of who's there, right?
Yeah, we do, and that comes back to empowering your people. In the being able to fail, allowing them to fail. We're not perfect. Don't get me wrong, but I think everybody just stepped up and was not afraid to act. And then once they just did the best they could with everybody out of place, and they know that pretty much they can do that on any given day. I've got to where lately, especially with the second shop acquisition, I'm gone a little more often between the two shops, and they just make decisions, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but they know that their job's not on the line because of it. So that just makes them feel a lot more freer to make those decisions.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us. So can you give us a little snippet of a square dance, Colin?
Oh man, let's see here. We'll bow to the partner, corners all, circle of the lift, go around the hall, alimental lift, fuel lift, and partner, ride lift grand.
That is fabulous. I love it. All right. So I want to try an experiment. Next time somebody's angry, one of your internal or external customers, I want you to just do that and let me know.
Break out into that. I'll do that.
Did that diffuse the situation? Did they want to throat punch you because you started? How did I want to know how it ended, and then we'll share it with the listeners. Awesome. All right, Matt, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and inspiration with us today, and I really appreciate you and love what you're doing for your people and your community and to help elevate our industry. It's just such a pleasure to see entrepreneurs like yourself and watch what all of you are doing. So everybody stay safe, make good choices, stay inspired, and I will be back next week. Thank you, Matt.